Hi everyone, today you'll need a white paper, horizontal, a pencil and an eraser. A watercolor set is optional. You could use colored pencils or markers. Whatever you have to color with today is fine. You will need a circle to trace like this cup, so go find one. Okay, let's get started. Today your paper is horizontal and you're working at the bottom left side of your paper to start. We're making a cornucopia, but we're going to start with a pumpkin. So I want you to draw a circle freehand, and this is a medium-sized circle, not a huge circle. And it does not have to be perfect, so you don't use your tracer for this part. So just find a circular shape and then find the top of the circle and draw a curve that goes from the top of your circle to the bottom of your circle. And do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to start in the top of the center of the circle and make these curves coming down from the top to the bottom, and they just curve around and follow the shape of that circle. So these are just curved lines until you get to the outer edge of your pumpkin, and just outline around the outside of your pumpkin just like this. And you're going to notice these little bumps on the bottom of your pumpkin, and that really gives your pumpkin a little character. Now at the top of your pumpkin, you're going to draw the stem, and that's with two curves and a little oval at the top. There is no perfect right or wrong to your pumpkin. So just make it the best that you can. Outline over your curves and just to define your pumpkin. Now let's move on. We're going to now create grapes. Now the grapes, I like to make a big blob shape. And that means any irregular line or organic shape, just a blobby, wavy line. And inside that area, this shape, we're going to make little ovals or little circles for the grapes, but start at the bottom. So start at the bottom and you're inside this blobby organic shape, and you're just drawing your circles, and they link together like this. And you see I'm just connecting them, and I'm staying inside of my organic shape or my blob shape. And I'm at the bottom of the blob, and I'm just drawing in these connecting, linking circles. And again, they could be ovals. They don't have to be perfect circles. But once you get to the halfway point, you're going to start doing something a little different. You're going to make curves that just connect. And it gives the illusion that these grapes are one behind the other and they're overlapping. So just curve, curve, curve like little hills until you get to the outer edge of your organic blob shape. Okay, and just keep going until that whole section is filled up. And don't forget that there's a stem as well on the grapes. And you can add a leaf, which is just this football shape, or your eye shape that we've done many, many times. And there you have it. There's your grapes. Okay, the next one we're going to do is a pear. Okay, now the pear is going to be in front of the pumpkin. So lightly sketch out a basic shape of a circle. Doesn't have to be a perfect circle, but notice it's on top of the pumpkin. It's overlapping on top of the pumpkin. And then draw this curve on top of that circle, connecting, and that's the basic shape of the pear. So once you like it, outline around it and define it. There's your pear, and a pear also has a stem, so give it a little curve at the top there, and make sure to erase anything inside that pear, because the pear is in front of the pumpkin. You're not going to see the pumpkin right through it, so we erase inside the pear. Okay, now the next thing we're going to create is an apple. Okay, and we're going to put the apple a little bit behind the pear. So I'm drawing my basic shape of the circle, and it's kind of cutting through the pear. That's okay. An apple's very easy because it just has a little dent at the top, and then the rest is the circular shape. So we can just define that dent at the top and add a little stem, and your apple is complete. You just need to erase inside of it if you made any mistakes, and also erase inside the pear again because the apple is behind the pear. Okay, so the next thing we're going to draw is corn. Corn, find a spot for your corn. It could be anywhere, and we're going to create 2 pieces of corn. So I'm going to pick this space right here, and I'm going to create sort of a long set of curves here. And that's the basic shape of your corn. Okay, and then you're going to create maybe a little bit of the leaves or the husks, just this leaf shape that comes out of the side of the corn. And then inside this shape, you're going to create a pattern, and the pattern is simply a checkered pattern, which just means 2 lines that go across like that, they crisscross. So there's your checkerboard pattern, and it represents the corn. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is create another piece of corn, doing it the exact same way, but this time it's going to be a little bit higher on the page, and it's going to show up behind the grapes. So you're making that long curved shape. You're adding a few leaves on the sides that point up and kind of curve in, just like that, and we can do that checkerboard pattern inside the shape of the corn. That's just horizontal and vertical lines. It's a checkerboard, and it makes that illusion of corn kernels. You can fix up anything by defining it, outlining it again, like I'm doing here. I'm just adding a few little grapes in this little space here. Okay, the next thing is a tomato. So a tomato, where should we put it? I'm going to put it right in the front. So it's going to be overlapping on top of this pumpkin. And I'm just drawing the basic shape of a circle, and then I'm going to erase inside the circle. Because it's in front, I'm not going to be able to see the pumpkin through the tomato. So I'm just going to erase inside. And then a tomato has a different type of leaf on the top, so it kind of looks like an X. And you'll see once we paint it, it will look like a tomato. Okay. Now, use your stencil, whatever stencil you found, and place it so that it's halfway over all your fruits and vegetables that we just drew. So it's like halfway on top and halfway off. Find that middle part, that's where you should be, and then just hold it down tight and trace around the circle stencil very carefully. Just like that. This is going to be the cornucopia. You should be left with a half circle. Okay, now we're also going to do this next part freehand, where you just trace around the outer edge of your circle to give it a little ring. So you're going to be left with a ring. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, now start at the top of that circle, and we're going to make a curve that dips down and slants downwards like a diagonal, but then also curves, and it's going to curl upwards to make the back of the cornucopia. It's going to curl, curl, curl right around, and there's your curl. Now start at the top of your curl, and we're going to now make the body of the cornucopia. It's going to curve around, and then it's going to get wider at the base, and it should stop at that last piece of corn there. Okay, so there's your basic shape of your cornucopia. Now we're going to add a little detail to the basket. So just create these curves following this circle shape. So it curves, and it should curve around. Yours could be a little more curvy than mine. Mine's not perfect, and that's okay. So I'm just curving around. I'm just repeating the curve of this cornucopia basket here. And as I go up towards the curl, my curve is going to curve and change direction. So it's You notice that it was going straight up and down vertically, and now it's kind of going horizontally until you get up to the curl here. And there you have the outside of the cornucopia. Now, the inside of your cornucopia, it's the same idea where we're repeating a curve, but this time we're going the opposite direction. We're going to follow the left side of the circle and follow the curve. Repeat this curve inside the circle. Okay. And there you have it. Okay. And just define your lines till it's right where you like it. Okay. Now we're going to add a few little pretty details that I like. We're going to add a sunflower. So the sunflower is going to be a little bit on top of the cornucopia. So notice that I'm drawing right on top of the cornucopia a circle. And then I erase inside the circle because this flower will be in front and overlapping the cornucopia. Now around this circle, I'm going to create the petals. The petals are just two curves connected. Take it all the way around. And I'm not worried about going right on top of the cornucopia because I'm going to erase inside the petals. There you have it, because it's on top. Okay. And the last thing we're going to do is add wheat. So wheat is a little fun detail. And you're going to start with making these two curved lines that come out. I'm going to make two pieces of wheat here. At the sort of at the tip of these curved lines, you're making these bumps. Bump, 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 bump. There you go. So I'm at the end of my curve and I'm just making bumps on one side. They're all connecting, and then bumps on the other side. They're all connecting. Okay. Now you can make at the outer edge these lines that just sort of radiate out. Okay. And you can make the stems, these skinny little wheat stems. And you can also add these long pointy leaves that come out of the wheat. And just for a little detail. Now notice, we want it to look like the wheat is coming from inside the cornucopia. So now we're going to extend it down right on top of the cornucopia. So it looks like it's coming out of the inside. And then we just erase inside the leaves and inside the stem. There we go. Okay, and then I want to add a couple pieces of wheat here on this side. I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to draw your curve. There's a curve, but this time the wheat's going to be pointing downwards. And then at the bottom here, you're adding your little bumps. Bump, 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 bump. The bumps all connect. We're going to do the same thing on this one. Bump, 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 curve, curve, curve. Okay. And then just make these little dashes. These little dashes, they come out of the outside. And you can extend up the stem. Just like that. And you can add these curved leaves that come out from the wheat as well. Just for a little detailing. Okay. Now we're ready for some outlining. Cool, let's get started. Get your markers, or you could also use colored pencils to do your outlining, whatever you have. I like to outline everything the color that it's supposed to be. So let's start with brown, and let's find everything that's brown. We know that the cornucopia is a basket, so we're going to outline the whole cornucopia with brown. So I'm just carefully outlining my curves with the brown marker. Just like that. Curve, curve, curve. I'm doing each curve separately, which gives me a little bit of a bump on the top and bottom. And that's okay, because that's going to make it look even more real. So it's okay to just follow your curves around, do each one separately, and till you get to the end. Excellent. Now what else is brown? Let's find. All the stems and the inside of our sunflower and the wheat will be brown. So take your time to outline the wheat Remember these little dashes and bumps? And the stem outline. I'm just tracing over very carefully my pencil drawing. Doing all the stems, I'm doing everything that's brown all at once. Okay. Inside that flower will be brown, and this wheat will also be brown. So I'm just outlining, meaning I'm tracing on top of my pencil. And this will help us when we fill in, because everything will be outlined the color that we fill it in with. All right, let's switch to green. Let's find everything that's green. So find everything that's a leaf. All of those leaves will definitely be green. So I'm just tracing. I'm going to start on the right side and just go across the paper and find everything that's green. The pear is green. Okay, the leaf on the tomato and the corn, green. The grape leaf, green. Corn leaf is green. Okay. So that way when we fill it in, we know exactly what to fill in with green. Now let's switch to red. Now what's red? Let's find everything that's red. The apple is red, outline it with red. The tomato is red, let's outline that with red. Okay. Now what's yellow? Let's find everything that's yellow. The flower petals are yellow and the corn is yellow. Just outline around the corn and outline around the petals. You don't have to do all the tiny kernels. Okay, now purple. Now this is the grapes here. I'm outlining around the grapes first with bumps, or little curves. And then I'm going to get inside and start to outline the individual ovals and curves to really make it detailed, a detailed set of grapes. Just take your time and outline every grape, every oval, every circle with purple. Okay, almost there. Okay, excellent. All right, now orange. Well, we know the pumpkin is orange, so let's outline all the curves of the pumpkin with our orange. Perfect. Curve, curve, curve. Okay, now we have to lay the paper flat because we're going to change to watercolor paint. We don't want it to drip everywhere. So if you're using watercolor, lay it flat. You're using water, so we don't want it to drip and blend and bleed. I like to start with the lightest colors, and that would be yellow. So start with yellow. Everything that's yellow, you know what's yellow because we outlined it with yellow. We outlined the petals of the flower and the corn. But you can also use the yellow inside the wheat. So you take a little bit of yellow and put these little yellow dots inside those little bumps of the wheat. And what you're going to notice is the brown marker kind of blends with it, and that's okay. Okay, now let's change colors. You make sure that you're rinsing your brush in between colors. And the next color is orange, so I'm finding what is orange. The pumpkin's orange because we outlined it. And I'm filling it in carefully with the orange, every little part. Now, the more you touch the marker with the water, the more the marker will blend. So just be careful of that. Okay, now the next color I'm going to use is green. And I'm filling in all those leaves with green. I'm going to fill in my pear with green. I'm going to give a little darker green for the outer edge of the pear on one side. And then I'm going to continue with the green until all my leaves are all filled in. And perfect. Okay. Now make sure you wash your brush. Switch to red. So I'm going to fill in the apple with red, and I'm going to fill in the tomato with red. Okay. I'm being careful now. All right. Okay. Now wash your brush and change colors. we're going to do everything that's brown, and there's a lot of brown. So we're going to fill in each individual curve of the cornucopia with our brown. Fill it in, take your time, and you're going to notice that the marker will blend with the watercolor. And it's a nice effect, I like it. So do that all throughout the back of the cornucopia, and then we'll switch to the inside of the cornucopia. Don't forget this ring here. Okay, all brown. And now the inside of this flower. I'm going to make this pretty dark brown so it stands out. Okay, and now the inside of my cornucopia, the same thing. I'm going to fill it in with my brown. I'm careful, but I'm doing each section and kind of following the curve of the shape. Filling it in, taking your time. Every time I have to dip my brush in the water and then make sure the paint is activated with the water. So use a lot of water. Find all the stems that are brown, fill the stems in. Okay. And if you missed any spots, you can always go back. For the grapes, I just use a watery purple and I go right on top of that purple outline. Now you see how this is bleeding or blending? It's a mistake, and we can fix mistakes by just using our finger and rubbing it off. Or you could use a tissue to just kind of pat it a little bit. And that's it. I'd love to see what you guys do.